a country can only be made on the bricks and mortar of economy, of business, and business is pioneered by business people and entrepreneurs. So that's my global thinking, my line of thinking. And the things I'll be sharing today is on that basis. And I didn't come here to offend anyone who is not doing business. It's just because that is the topic I was invited to talk about. Maybe the next time they'll invite people on how to become good employees. Unfortunately, I am not that person, because I also believe that we should do much more. You know why I think so? Many times I get people in my office because I enjoy a lot interacting with people and learning. And you realize that every person in Kenya with a degree, let me talk about any certificate gotten from an institution where you paid school fees, is that every person is looking for a job. Every meaning, almost everyone, majority. So one time, a person came to my office, and very exposed person in terms of learning and in terms of how they view the world. But the bottom line was that I'm looking for a job. Then I was asking this lady, in your village, like the one I come from, maybe you seated here, you are the light of that village. When they need a harabe in church, you're always invited there. People are told, usome ukue kama Mary, ama John. Then you've come all the way from Muranga, the village I come from. You've come to Nairobi. Yani umepita Thika, umepita Juja, ukapita Roiro, umefika Nairobi. And you've actually joined even a university. And I'm talking about all of us as people who have gone through learning in institutions, supported by government, by the community, by our parents. And then, after doing all that, and after every person in the village is looking up to you, then you retreat and say, oh, I have finished. Now, I am in a big problem because I'm looking for a job. Then I was asking her, if the people in your village took you to school, you came to Nairobi, wakakuondokea so that wewe upite njia, na umefika, and then you have become actually part of the problem, then what was the need of you doing all that long route? Because once you join those people who are looking for jobs, you have joined part of the problem that is facing our economy. And it means, therefore, you are not part of the solution providers. So you traveled all that way from your SHAGs to Moi University, to KU, to UON. The community made sure you remain there, only for you to be given a torch, kumulikia wengine. After you finish, you retreat to where they are and become again part of that problem. Oh, natafuta kazi sijapata. I believe we go through that process, not to go back as part of the problem, but to use the experiences and the exposure to be part of the solution. And our economy here in Kenya and Africa, one of the problems that we don't have, if it is, I don't know how to phrase it, one of the issues we don't struggle in having is unemployed people. We have no problem with that. We have it in abundance. What we don't have is the solution of how this labor, which is already polished and learned, can take part in the growth of the economy. And I believe that solution lies in business. That solution lies in entrepreneurship. It does not lie in adding into the numbers. And that is why, as I talked about that topic today, I'm talking about it because I believe in it. And not just in words. Even me, when I graduated from KU, and I called, that is my undergrad, and I called for a lunch to celebrate my degree later in that day, the prayer I had for my parents and the people who attended is when they go back to Muranga, niliwaambia, you go pray for me not to get a job. Because I knew when I get into that trap of getting a job, then from there, I start living in fulfilling other people's dreams, not my own. And I knew the struggle will be intense, but it will be short while. And for sure it was. Because you are here, you've graduated, your former classmates are working with Deloitte, others with PwC, others with the Equity Bank, and you are here just saying, I am a businessman, doing no business by then, or no notable business. So it's ni kichaka, unaingia kwa kichaka. You get into a forest which is very dim and in which is very dark. But you must be determined that you cannot look for an easy solution that is short-lived. Because I knew, just like all of us here, if you desire to live a life that is above average, it is very highly unlikely you'll do it while still employed. Because whatever amount of salary you may be paid, whatever math you try to do with it, it can't get you out of the low-level equilibrium. You know, life, many times you get trapped here. Okay, we become first among equals. What do I mean? You are here in this hall. Even the person who is saying, I am now ahead of others, it is within a low-level equilibrium. An equilibrium where you are already trapped in some ceiling. We must break that ceiling, get out of that low-level equilibrium, and go to the next one. So that when you truly are aiming high, you are not aiming high while still umefunikwa. You already past that. You go past the ceiling. I am yet to see whether that is possible through employment. Now, let me talk a few things here. Because I imagine, even those who are not in business, we are aiming one day to be in it. When you study all the businesses that we know, the bigger ones, from Samsung to Apple to Microsoft, you realize the only business that withstands the test of time is a dynamic business. You'll not get a business, they tell you, we started off making rubber 100 years ago, we are still making rubber, unless you are Coca-Cola or in the food industry, which sometimes there is nothing much you can do about food, because food remains food. But if you look at many companies, and especially those which are not in the food business, how they started, a person who got it 60 years ago will not recognize it today. A company like Samsung, I use Samsung because I am a fan of the Asian economic transformation. In fact, the only reason I use Samsung, other than the American phones, is that reason. That I want to support an economy that was like us in our parents' generation. That by the time my father was a young man, by then my father, an equivalent of South Korea, were at the same level in GDP per capita. Can you imagine? Now I am here as his son. Now an equivalent of me there is more than 25 times richer on average. So I was talking about Samsung before I diverted to the economics of the Asian tigers. It started off, Samsung started off as what? A trading company. Actually doing what? It was selling dried fish, samaki, dried fish. But how do these companies then maintain the fact that they withstand time? After doing all that, they make money. That money, the money you get in your business, should not be your possession. The money you make in your business should be capital for something with a higher technological value. So you make money out of dried fish. What is the technology required there? Just fish, fishing. You never manufacture fish. You just fish it. So fishing, drying. You also don't manufacture sun or the sun. So that is a low-level kind of technology product. So they use that profit, they reform the company to become something else, and over comes to TVs, first comes to radios, comes to TVs, from TVs to flat screen TVs, to now phones, now going to AI. If they remained as the same company that was started there, it will not even never have passed to be an example, to be given so many kilometers from where it was founded. Whatever business we are doing, we must not be stuck where we are. We must know that this business exists for a dynamic force. I make money here, but with my eye at the next product, which is most cases, have to have a higher barrier of entry, and therefore has to have a higher capital outlay, have to have a higher technological level of entry, so that you leave the low-level kind of product making and then proceed higher. And that also continues with its own wider profit margins. The profit margin you make on a low-level technology product is not the same you make when you're in a business with a higher barrier of entry, technologically and also capital-wise. And I hope those of us in business will learn to transform with time. And don't feel like you are over-diversifying by going higher technologically, because that is the only way you can safeguard your higher margins. Bharti, Airtel, the one you know now, it came to Zain, Airtel, all that now. That's an Indian company. Bharti was started in 1976. It was making parts of bicycles, the company we know today. I'm just talking about dynamism in business because it's important. You talk about a company like Berkshire Hathaway. Berkshire Hathaway is the one that is owned by Warren Buffett. Those people in investment area, no one does not know Warren Buffett in investments because he's the father of that. Berkshire Hathaway is a company listed in the in America, of course, with over a trillion shillings in dollars net worth. It started like 50-something years ago or so. By the time Warren Buffett was buying shares into Berkshire Hathaway, it was a company making textiles and garments. It was that kind of a company. Currently, as we talk today, it has transformed itself into an investment company with over 800 subsidiaries. Subsidiaries is a company where another company owns more than 51% of that company. More than 800. And hundreds more of investments in listed companies and non-listed companies. Most of the brands you know, including Bank of America, Berkshire Hathaway, at some point had investments there. Apple, even now, Berkshire Hathaway is the largest investor, ahead of even the founders of that technology company. Transformation, so that you don't trap yourself. Oh, you know, I am a carpenter, I have a workshop, fine. How much technology is needed in your trade? Because the low technology that is needed and the lower the capital outlay needed, then it is a porous business. Anyone can enter, anyone can exit. And that kind of business, when you have capital, you need to advance to another business that has some semblance of barriers of entry, so that not everyone can do it. Why? Because the capital you have, not everyone has it. The technology which you can afford, not everyone who has it. So why are you doing a small margin business, yet you have the capacity